This is Algebra 2 with Trig, 8b.4b. We're going to evaluate trig functions. We've done this similarly earlier this week. One way to evaluate these is to find the reference angle. And we're going to evaluate the trig function for theta using the quadrant 1. So we only focus on what happens in quadrant 1. Then we're going to determine the sine based on which quadrant theta lies in. So, for example, we have all of them are positive. In the second quadrant, you'll notice sine is the only positive unit here. Sine and its reciprocal. Cosine is going to be positive. Oh, sorry, I said that backwards. Tangent is going to be positive. Tangent is going to be positive because sine and cosine are both negative. When they're both negative, two negatives make a positive. So tangent and cotangent are going to be positive in the third quadrant. In the fourth quadrant, that's where cosine is going to be positive. Because when you move to the right, which is your x value, positive x, negative y, when you do the fraction for that to figure out tangent, one's positive, one's negative, it's going to be negative. So only cosine is positive. Now there's different ways we can remember this. Okay, going in order from quadrant 1 to quadrant 2, quadrant 3 to quadrant 4. One phrase is all students take calculus. All students take calculus will help you remember A stands for all, and all of them are positive. Students is S, S stands for sine. That's positive in the second quadrant. Take T stands for tangent, and that's going to be positive in the third quadrant. And all students take calculus. C stands for calculus, which is cosine, is positive in the fourth quadrant. All right. So, the way that I typically do these may be a little bit different than that 1, 2, 3 choices that they gave us from above. I like to draw out where that angle is. This is negative 240, so I think about my unit circle. Negative 240 is going to be all the way around, going up in this direction. We're 30 degrees away from what would be negative 270, so we're up here at an angle of 120. So this is equivalent to the tangent of 120. You could figure that out by adding 360 to figure out your positive coterminal. We get 120. Well, what are the coordinates at 120? So the coordinates at 120 are, this is short and long to get there. Short and long. So I'm not memorizing the coordinate there. I'm thinking short, long to get all the way up to the 120 marker. So there we have it. To do tangent, I know that's y over x. So this is root 3 over 2, negative 1/2. How do you handle a fraction dividing by a fraction? You multiply by the reciprocal. So the 2's cross off, and we get negative root 3. Now let's use some of our notes that we took up here. Determine the sine based on the quadrant. Well, here we know that tangent is only positive in the third and the first quadrant. So it's going to be negative in the second quadrant. Here we are in the second quadrant. Using this method, the negatives take care of themselves, and you don't have to re-memorize all of that. Here is cosecant. Well, I know cosecant is the reciprocal of sine, so I need to figure out sine at this location, and then I'm going to be able to do the reciprocal of sine to determine the cosecant. Well, here we have 17 pi over 6. I know 17 pi over 6 is larger than 2 pi. It's more than 12 pi over 6. So I'm going to subtract 12 pi over 6 because that's a value of 2 pi. That gives me 5 pi over 6. So really, I'm working with the cosecant 5 pi over 6. Well, where is 5 pi over 6? Well, 1 over 6, 2 over 6 is at 60, 3 over 6 is at 90, 4 over 6 is at 120, and 5 over 6 is the same thing as at 150, or 5 pi over 6. We've got 6 different sections in our first pi. So our coordinates here are long, short. You don't have to memorize them, you just need to know how to calculate them. Long and short. It's negative for long because we're going left, and it's positive for short because we're going up. Now sine, remember we always do this cosine sine for reasons we've learned before. So we're talking about a half. So we're going to do the reciprocal of the sine that makes the cosecant, and we get positive 2 because it's positive because it's going up. That's what sine would be, and it's reciprocal. Here's negative 225. Well, one thing you could do is take your 225 and add 360 to it. So I'm going to take 360 and subtract my 225. I prefer to do it this way. And I can carry my value over. So that's 135. So I found my coterminal is actually 135. So what happens at 135? Well, 135 is 45 degrees more than 90. That's 45, 90, 135, 180. So it's going by quarters. So this is negative root 2 over 2, positive root 2 over 2. We're still in that second quadrant. So the sign there is root 2 over 2. Because I'm in the second quadrant, it's positive. Okay, 5 pi over 3. I think about where is 5 pi over 3. This is 1 over 3, which is 60 degrees. This is 2 over 3, that's 120. 3 over 3, which is at pi, or 180. 4 over 3, 240. 5 over 3, there it is. And this is over a short distance, down a long distance. So over a short, down long. Remember, this is cosine sine. Cotangent, remember, is the reciprocal. We could do tangent, which is sine over cosine, and then flip it, or we can just be smart and know that cotangent is going to be x over y, cosine over sine. Just go straight to that. So we're going to take the half and times it by the reciprocal. Those are going to cross off. That's going to give us negative 1 over root 3. Well, there we go. We have to rationalize the denominator. Okay, try to do these calculations without looking up and down, up and down. And there is the cotangent. Well, cotangent is going to be positive with tangent in the third quadrant. And that's not where we are. We're in the fourth quadrant. So the fourth quadrant is negative, and that's exactly what we have. Okay, let's try 150. What's the cosine of 150? You go ahead and work on this. You should start a circle with your unit circle. You're looking for 150. You know that that's a long way over and a short way up. 135 would be in the middle. 120 would be above that. So those are the three spots. So you got to remember 150 is the farthest one over. So long, short. So that's negative root 3 over 2 up a half. And the cosine is the x. And you're done. Secant. Well, secant is a reciprocal of cosine, so we need to know the cosine at negative 15 pi over 8. Or 15 pi over 4. Well, 15 pi over 4 is not in a unit circle. So we could convert it, if that's what you like to do. So I'm going to add 8 pi over 4 because that's a value of 2 pi. That gives me negative 7 pi over 4. It's still negative, so I'm going to add another 8 pi over 4. That finally gives me a positive angle. So this is a coterminal. It's a positive one. Now I know where that is on the unit circle. That's up here at pi over 4, which is your 45-degree marker. Those two coordinates are the same. So you get root 2 over 2, root 2 over 2, x and y coordinates. So we're looking for the secant, which is the reciprocal of cosine. Well, you can mess this one up. It doesn't even matter which one you grab, but it would be the reciprocal of the x. So we're going to say that secant of pi over 4 equals the reciprocal of this, which is 2 over root 2. But while we're at it, we need to rationalize the denominator. And that's going to make 2 root 2 over 2. And those cross off. So we just get root 2. We're in the first quadrant. Everything's positive in the first quadrant. It takes care of itself. All right, you go ahead, try these. So we know the coterminal is 135. You should be done with this one by now. You should be getting better. That 135 is a multiple of 45. So I know this is root 2 over 2, which is negative, comma, root 2 over 2. I'm looking for the cosine of that. So that's negative root 2 over 2. Go ahead and try the next one. Where is 10 pi over 3? You can make a unit circle and count your way all the way around. But you'll notice that this is going by thirds, so it's larger than 6 over 3. Larger than 2 pi, so what are you going to do? I'm going to subtract 2 pi. That gives me 4 pi over 3. Okay, that's back. That's okay. We can do that one. That's back on our unit circle. This is 1/3, 2/3, 3/3, 4/3. That's way down here. Short over, long down. Short over, long down. So we can do our coordinate. Cotangent. It's not tangent. It's not y over x. It happens to be x over y. Cosine over sine. So the 2's cross out, the negatives become positive, and this is 1 over root 3. Well, that needs to rationalize the denominator. And I get root 3 over 3. You try one more. Okay, how you setting this one up? What are you doing first? Is 300 in the unit circle? Well, of course it is. 300 is 60 degrees away from 360. So it's over a short way and down a long way. Over a short way, down a long way. You need to know your coordinates. So secant, the reciprocal of cosine. Remember, this goes in the order of cosine, sine, alphabetical order if you ever forget. So the reciprocal of cosine is going to be 2. And it would be positive because x's are positive. There we did it. Good job, everybody.